So my name is Mr. Hunt. I'm a primary school teacher. I've been teaching for 13 years now. I taught reception, year 6, and now I teach in year 4. So I teach 3 days a week in my class just outside Manchester. But the other half of the week, I'm an author. I work with different companies, different organizations. But my main passion, my main thing that I love to do is be in the classroom. And you'll see some examples of my classroom in a moment. So this is my school. This is Toftington Primary School, an amazing school just outside of Manchester, about 20 minutes from Old Trafford. If you support Manchester United, about 20 minutes from there. It's a wonderful school, an inclusive school for children with physical disabilities. So we're not a mainstream school. We're not an SEN school. We kind of just sit somewhere in between, but it's a fantastic place. Now, before I talk about what I'm going to talk about today, I'm just going to show you this lady here. Now, this is my mum. This is my mum. She's 75 years old, and I'm showing my mum because my mum has a growth mindset. And the way I can explain my mum's growth mindset is because she is a nurse, so she goes to people's houses and administers medicine. And about 4 years ago, she used to have a rota on paper, and she would go to different houses. So growth mindset in our family, we call it be like Hazel. We say be like Hazel in our family, and the reason why is because, like I said, 4 years ago, my mum used to have a rota on paper, and she would go to different houses and administer medicine. And her company that she works with, they were going paperless, so they're having to have an emailed rota for her. So I had to explain to my mum at 71 years old at the time, how emails work. And at the time, she had a Nokia 3310 with like the green screen and the snake game. That's what she used to use. So I had to set up an email, and I explained emails. I kind of like a letter. When you get a letter delivered to your house, it comes to your house. An email is very similar. You just even get the little icon at the top. So she seemed to understand it. And then a few months later, I was in the house with my dad. My mum was supposed to be at work. And she drove into the driveway, and she went out of the driveway, and then she carried on with her day. And at the end of the day, when she come back home, I said to Mum, why did you come into the driveway and not come and say hello? You know, usually I was home. Why did you say hi? So it's because I got an email. Now, she blames me for this. She said, because I told her an email is like getting a letter delivered to your house. Every time she had an email, she thought she had to go home to open her emails. She did that for 6 months. Cut forward a couple of years later, my mum, she's got a Facebook account, she's got a Twitter, she's not on TikTok yet, but she's all over social media. So my mum, at the grand old age, nearly 75, went from a Nokia 3310 to be able to use emails and different technology. And that's my point as teachers and educators. You'll see things here and things I'm going to talk about today. It's all about how growth mindset, all about be like Hazel. Okay. So this is a message from the real Hazel. She's going to say, you might not be able to hear her, but she's going to say hello to everyone at Bet.
Hello, Bet. And be Sonic. I hope you have a good day.
There you go. Perfect. So she got it perfect, didn't she? But the problem was, just like growth mindset and just like in education, sometimes things go wrong. So that wasn't the first take. So in fact, I'm going to show you some of the outtakes of the message that we had to get from them to say this view Sonic. Here she is.
Don't be chewing. You can't do this when you're chewing. Get rid of.
Oh, I've got a bit of peanut in my mouth, son.
Oh, get rid of the peanuts. Got to be professional here.
No, actually, it's not peanut. It was popcorn.
Right. Okay.
Just come back from pictures.
This is your professional face. Is that your professional face?
I don't have a professional one.
Oh no, you don't.
Hello, everyone at Beth and Sonic. And hope you have a fantastic day.
Bet.
I'm all right. It don't begin with a P, so I'm fine with that.
No, so hello everyone at Bet, so BETT, and View Sonic. Oh. View Sonic, not Sonic, not another hedgehog thing. View Sonic. I hope you have a good day. Go.
Hello, Bets.
Not hello, Bet. No, don't spell it. Don't spell it.
My God, it's a bit thumping back. Hello, Bets. And be Sonic. I hope you have a good day.
Well, she did it in the end, and that's the point. So she eventually had to give her, there you go. She's very pleased with herself, and there's my mum. So she's available at weekends for stag and hen nights. It's very cheap. She's creating her own website at the moment. Okay. Now, back into education. So I'm going to talk about placing pedagogy in the mobile classroom and teaching in practice. I'm going to use examples from my classroom and examples of me using our ViewSonic board, which we got recently. So So the little history lesson just now. So back in the 1800s, the teacher would stand at the front of the classroom, the children would be in rows, and the teacher would teach from the front of the classroom. In the 20s and 30s and 40s, the teacher would do the same. The children would be in rows, the teacher would stand at the front using a chalkboard. Jump forward to the 50s, 60s, 70s, we had acetates, so projectors. The technology changed, but the teacher would stand roughly in the same position. In the late 90s, 2000s, we had overhead projectors. Classrooms would still be very similar. The technology's changed now. We're using PCs and laptops and screens. But the teacher would stand at the front with the children in rows, spacing the front. And then in the 2000s, we had panels where, again, the teacher would stand at the front and children would generally be in rows, spacing the front. So our point is basically the classroom design hasn't really changed for about 200 years. And the teacher hasn't really moved for about 200 years, but the technology that we use and the things and the tools we have enable us to move around. So there's a fantastic study by the Clever Classroom Study. So they talk about how the air temperature, the color that you use in your classroom, the layout has a direct impact on the teaching and learning in your classroom. There's clear evidence about academic performance in reading, writing, and maths. And the difference in physical characteristics, so by changing the layout of your classroom, the color scheme, the temperature, the ambient noise, you can improve your children's progress by up to 60% per year. There's another study by an AB study in 2019 called The Cheap Seats, and they recognize that depending on where you were sat in the classroom, a child could have a different learning experience depending where they are, and they call it the cheap seats. So it got me thinking, I love The Lion King. I want to go and see The Lion King while I'm at London. It's very expensive. So the seats that I looked at when I looked online to see how much it would cost to go see The Lion King were the little pink seats at the top. I didn't look at these orange and yellow seats down here. And the reason for that is because those seats at the front, they're £128. I'm on a teacher's wage, I can't afford that. So I looked at the ones right at the top. So a theatre, you pay for where you sit in the theatre. So it got me thinking about my own classroom. So this was my classroom last year. Now, at the time you can see there's just answering coordinate questions, and we had a projector which was quite low down. So this is amazing. So to answer a question, what she had to do, every time we asked a question, she had to see the axis at the bottom. She had to stand up to see the axis. So because it was too low down, she couldn't see. So then I thought about my own classroom. If my classroom was a theatre, how much would Maisie's seat cost where she was sat? Her seat would cost around £71, which means I've got children on these really expensive seats right at the front of the classroom, but I've also got children way at the back over here on these really cheap seats. Now, is that fair that that child sat in that seat here, do they have the same learning experience as a child sat down here? So what I did is what we use in our classroom, we got a ViewSonic screen. We actually got two to trial this new system, which I'm going to show you now. But it's not just about the screen, it's about the software and also the community. It's not just what you use, it's how you use it and who you use it with. So I redesigned my classroom. Okay, so we've got one screen, we moved across to the side, we put our two screens here and we laid out our classroom. And now, what I'm able to do is I'm able to move in and out of the classroom where I'm needed at the point of learning, not later on. So I can move around. It's really good for your step count as well, actually, especially after Christmas. When you get a bit of Christmas timber, it's really good for your step count afterwards. So I'm able to move in and out of the classroom. And you might be thinking, well, we can't afford two screens. I'm sure ViewSonic would love it if everyone bought two screens for their classroom. But what you can do is you can use your screen as a main driver. And what we did in our classroom to emulate in other classrooms, we used old monitors, which a lot of schools will have a couple of old monitors. And we basically got a wire from the main screen, put it at the side, sat at the side, and then we got a dual screen in the classroom. We also used our old projectors that we kind of had stored away, we didn't use anymore. We put some of them back up, and all we did is we turned the screen to the side, cleared a wall, and then we projected on one wall the same as on the main screen. So again, going back to the classroom design in 200 years, and the teacher hasn't moved for 200 years. Now, the technology is there for us to move around and to be where we are needed, which is with the children. Now, one of the most powerful things that I use in my classroom, that I've used over the years, is casting my main screen, my iPad, my device to my screen. So here I am doing this in my classroom. So this was literally last week in one of my lessons. So I'm able to mirror my device, take a picture of the work or the thing that the children were doing at the time, take a photograph, and then what I did was I then went to my screen, just used the quick annotation tools, and was able to annotate over the top of our reading comprehension that we looked at. And at the time, we were talking about the Loch Ness Monster. And the day before, we discussed that the word loch means lake in Scotland. So that's why we're just checking there, the understanding and knowledge there. And we had a little chart and we went through the lesson and highlighted and annotated certain things. So it's such a powerful thing to be able to take the children's work and put it to the screen instantly to where it's needed. Okay, so that's one way we use it in our school. And again, this was last week, just before I got my haircut actually. And also we use White Rose in our school. So we teach maths through White Rose. And rather than printing off documents, what I'm able to do is I'm able to cast the main document to the screen and I can zoom in and out. And as I'm teaching, I can walk in and amongst the children and see if there's any misconception and areas. And I can tackle it then rather than later on when I'm marking. So I can move in and around the children and also zoom in and out for our children. What I'm also able to do is because I'm able to cast, I can give the iPad to the children, the device, and my children can talk through their work, talk through their knowledge and understanding. And it's just a good way of empowering children to take ownership of their own learning. And also you can have a little bit of coffee at the side as well while the children are teaching your lesson for a little bit. So it's such a powerful thing to be able to do. There you go. And celebrate. Another thing I like to do is just after Christmas, this was again last week, we were teaching a bit of maths. So some quick maths in the morning, some column addition. So I was able to stand in the middle of the classroom and check how children were working. Now, in a moment, I'd speak to one of the children here who was struggling because he was starting column addition from the left-hand side instead of the right. Now, because I was in and amongst the children, I was able to tackle it right there and tell him to start on the left and not the right-hand side, able to tackle that problem right there rather than later on. And you can also have a bit of fun with it as well. So we use again the children to teach the lesson as well. So again, give the iPad to the children. They can talk through their knowledge and understanding and talk through their learning. And we also use it for times tables. So we get our class to beat Siri. So we ask Siri a question and the children have to answer a question, multiplication question, before Siri answers on the iPad, which takes a few seconds. This is it happening now. Oh, and yes, this is some of the children. So we also use of the, because I've got a split class, half of mine in year 3, half of year 4. So I've got